welcome everyone to another installment of The Persistent Rumor. I am Chocolate Yoddah, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. And with me as always, my heterosexual life mate, Chancleta.
That be I, sir. Check out the drip. The drip. The drip. It's dripping off me.
Custom made swag. I'm going old school. This is, I think, one of the first, maybe the first t-shirt that I made. I'm not sure if it's up for sale. I don't think it is. But yeah, man.
Well, you've gotten the
if
logo.
You want to check out our merch, you can go to the Persistent Rumor. There's a tab there for merch. You know,
Chocolate Yoddah got the logo pretty pimping right now. It's nice.
Yeah, man, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Little by little.
This is my early work. This is okay, but not as good as it's been.
That's right. A little font play, a little circle. There you go. You're making it happen, baby.
All right, so let's deal with the elephant in the room. Our recording was delayed a half hour this evening because you upset my niece. So what the hell did you do to her?
I certainly did not. She just upset herself. It's just what it is. I'm raising a girl.
You are suspect.
Yeah, well,
I don't like what you're saying. I think you're a filthy liar. I blame you.
I'm constantly worrying about how good of a father I am. Please don't make it worse.
Well, I'll tell you what. In my opinion, the only people that worry about being good parents are good parents. Bad parents are convinced that they're good parents.
Yeah.
Good parents are constantly worried that they are not good enough.
Cognitive dissonance is a motherfucker, let me tell you.
Oof,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, we just had 4 years of that shit.
Yeah, seriously. It's and it's still holding strong. I mean, we're still talking about there are people still talking about, yeah, well, you know, the election was stolen, or, you know, with absolutely
they're stolen by
evidence.
people that have sex rings in pizza places and drink the blood of the young. I mean, it's just. I don't think there was ever. I mean, I know people were dumb 500 years ago, but they weren't necessarily dumb. They were ignorant.
Yo, and 500 years ago, bro, like, are you kidding me?
I mean, but it really was based on, like, it's a mixed bag, right? Because on the one hand, they're like charting the world, you know, but on the other hand, if you had a headache, they were drilling a hole in your head.
Right, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
So I think
check out this new thing called lobotomy.
Yeah. I mean, so you can make a case for their ignorance. You can make a case that we know more about certain things now collectively, but at the same time, there seems to be the biggest population of just dumb fucks. I've never seen it like this before. And I think I've been aware of society for quite a long time at this point. And again, this is all subjective, obviously, but in my lifetime, based on my recollection, my filters, my experience, all that shit, I cannot think of a time where I felt like America's population of supremely stupid people was bigger. Like it's the largest, and maybe that's exacerbated by the fact that they have access to communication in a way that they never did before. So it's kind of like, you know, a variation of what Will Smith said about racism. It's not that it's gotten worse, it's just gotten filmed. And maybe that's what it is with stupidity. Maybe it hasn't gotten worse. Maybe now we can finally see how many dumb fucking people there are.
And that's the real pandemic. Not that this one isn't.
It's another type of pandemic.
It's just a different type of pandemic, yes.
Yeah.
This one is also...
And it might be more insidious. The trouble is, it's the same kind of trouble that women have with men. Because allies and rapists look exactly the same. Right? Sociopaths and regular people look exactly the same.
Yep.
And intelligent people and dumb look exactly the same.
Yes.
They don't sound the same once they start talking, but there's no way to detect them in a crowd. Like if you have that typical slow-eyed moron, yeah, that's a dead giveaway. And that's usually something organically wrong with someone. But if you just have someone who has a fully functioning brain in terms of, the guy can bathe himself and find his way to and from work and like that, but he just doesn't have any faculty for critical thinking or even regular thinking.
Right.
That's how you reach the conclusions that the earth must be flat or that the election was stolen.
Yeah.
Or Republicans are the party of financial responsibility or whatever they say about themselves.
The fiscally responsible.
Because there's just no evidence to any of that stuff.
Yeah, right. No evidence whatsoever. And, just because you say that there's evidence doesn't mean that there is evidence, right?
Right.
And that's the other thing that you hear all the time where it's just like people are just going, I mean, originally with the QAnon stuff, it was like, oh yeah, like in March, watch, you'll see Trump's going to be president. There's this thing going on in March. You'll see. It's like, oh, never mind. We made a mistake. It's going to be April. And then in April it's like, oh yeah, no, we were mistaken. It's going to be May. And still,
yeah,
people are waiting. And it's like, how many times are you going to fall for the Nigerian prince scam? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's not the Nigerian prince scam.
I understand, but
what does that remind you of? When people say, "Oh, it's coming," "Oh, it passed," "Sorry, we made a mistake," here's where it's really coming.
Yeah,
what does that remind you of?
Like the Nostradamus predictions.
No, the doomsday predictions.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I looked into this a while back because I was curious. Like, how long has this been going on?
Oh, please tell me.
Which is, well. The earliest recorded history I could find was around the year 900, right? So in the year 900, there was this guy who was doing the whole, the end is nigh, right? And then the date passed and he was like, oh, miscalculation. I figured it out. The end is nigh, like a year from now.
Yes, right, yeah.
And that's what they've been doing since, like, for 1,200 years.
Yeah.
People have been going, the end is coming. We calculated, we read the hidden secret codes of the Bible that aren't there, but if they were there, keep in mind they were written by people that didn't know what bacteria was, so how reliable do you think this was? Or, as Patrice O'Neill said, we consulted the ancient dishwashers of the Mayan calendar.
Yeah. This is what basically happened. Somebody threw a piece of Swiss cheese on a fucking open Bible and just read the letters that were visible through the holes and then came up with a phrase that said, something along the lines of the world is nigh and here we go. And it's always some silly shit like that. It's like
yeah, no, I love your willingness to be completely absurd about an already absurd idea and talk about fucking Swiss cheese in a Bible.
Yeah. Because this is how ridiculous you sound. This is what is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me they sound like they just don't get enough oxygen. They're just these are dumb people. These are not people to be taken seriously at all. If you want to placate them and give them the whole, oh yeah, okay, if you want to do that, that's fine because you want to make sure that they don't get violent. But why give these people any credence at all?
A while back we talked about, like what makes someone smart. What are the underlying, or I should say, what are the factors that would make it that that you're labeled smart versus like what makes you stupid, right? Because like to me it's like there's I don't really see a way like what qualifies someone as being a genius, what qualifies somebody as being smart or intelligent or whatever. And what qualifies somebody as being stupid? Because, this is a broad spectrum. Like, I know people that seem smart but say stupid things, like Ben Shapiro.
Right. That's that George Carlin bit. Oh, this guy sounds pretty smart.
Yeah.
Wait.
Full of
no, he's a dumb.
Yeah. He's full of yeah.
He's full of
yeah.
Yeah,
and there's no more an epitomal character than Ben Shapiro in my book. You know, it's just one of these guys that sounds like he's fucking really smart.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, because
you distilled all of that evil and stupidity into one perfect vessel.
Yeah, he's the perfect vessel for that.
He is about as smart sounding dumb as you can get.
Yeah. He contradicts himself.
I cannot think of anybody that sounds smarter and consistently says the dumbest shit than him.
Constantly. He constantly.
There's no racism, according to him.
Yeah, contradicts himself within the same paragraph, bro. Constantly. Like, I'm just like, wow, you haven't even taken a breath yet, and you're already contradicting yourself. That's crazy.
When he was on Rogan, it was back-to-back sentences.
Yeah.
You know, like he would say one thing, Rogan would point out the fallacy of his logic, and then he would completely reverse himself. You know, he is emblematic of the current Republican Party. I think that Carlson, he's the same way.
I love that.
What a
Carlson.
complete what a dick that guy is.
Yeah.
Just an immense, hairy, throbbing.
If you look up waffle in the Urban Dictionary, it's his picture next to him. That's what you're gonna be. He is the quintessential waffle.
It's shocking to watch. Anytime I see a clip of this guy talking, his fake outrage, his fake ignorance, you know, his strategy of, I'm not going to make any statements, I'm just going to ask questions. And in those questions, I'm going to hope that you infer my meaning. But I'm never going to get past the point of implying anything because I don't have the courage of my convictions. Let's remember, this dude was on like MSNBC at one point. Yeah. You know, so either that or CNN or whatever. He was doing left-wing journalism. Yep. Okay. I'm guessing he was just as disingenuous then. I'm not even sure. I haven't seen much of his work from back then, but I know that he used to do that. So he has no allegiance, he has no ethic, he has no standard that he maintains, and the thing that he really doesn't have is the concept of your word. This is something that is so important to me, and it comes from my formative years. You know, I grew up at a time when Westerns were hugely popular. You know, that phase of American culture is really fascinating to me because samurai culture went through the same thing in feudal Japan way before this. And it's what happens to soldiers when there's no more war. Now what starts to happen? Well, warriors find a way to create war. That's what gunfights were about. That's why samurai fights were about, you know, sword fights. Samurais would do a thing if they wanted to provoke someone into a fight. They would walk by that guy and make sure that his scabbard, the thing that holds the samurai sword, clicked against the other guy's scabbard, and that was that was considered an act of aggression and an insult. You know. Because samurai swords are about as close to magic as you can get in real life. The artistry and the science and the amazing outcome that these guys produce in a samurai sword, something that light, that flexible, yet that sharp and that strong. You know, I don't even know if people know how to do that today. But anyway, I digress. Post-Civil War, America had that same situation with the gunslinger. You know, these were guys that couldn't give up war, and so figured out a way to create a version of war in their everyday lives. And it was such an interesting period in American history that I believe it's still the number one genre of film that has been created, right? And one thing that always struck me, a pattern that I recognized when I was very, very young, I'm talking about still in single digits, is that every time there was a dispute between two men and one man said, "I give you my word," the other guy shut up, or the only thing he would say is, "That's good enough for me."
Yeah, right.
Right? So, wow, like, that's pretty fucking obvious. Like, your word is more valuable than fucking gold.
Yeah.
And motherfuckers were killing each other over gold.
Yeah.
So you could shut it down. You could just shut down any fucking debate by saying, "I give you my word." Right?
Yeah.
And here's something interesting, and this is something that Dante Nero points out. Shout out Man School 202. You never hear the phrase "a woman of her word."
Yeah.
Right? Kind of interesting. I'll let that lay there, and you guys can make of that of you will. But you do hear the phrase "a man of his word."
Yeah.
Right? And so as I was growing up, it was really important for me to be a man of my word. Now, I didn't get there until I was like 23 years old. I was frankly an inveterate liar before that.
No, I hear you. Same. Yeah.
You know, and then I turned 23. I started working on myself, and that's when I made the conscious decision, motherfucker, I must be having a series of mini strokes. I just cannot speak right tonight.
I need to order you like a fucking Grubhub or Starbucks or something, because you are fucking up.
Yeah. So
we're way too hard on each other. Go ahead.
When I was 23, I made the decision that I was going to be an honest person, and I want to tell you that it's not absolute. I am honest to people, to individuals, right? Yeah. You know, I'll let people draw whatever conclusion they want from that, but and I'm not honest in a mean way. I think that anyone that knows me knows that I bend over backward not to hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. But I won't go so far in avoiding hurting somebody that it obscures the truth.
Right.
I feel compelled to tell people the truth because I desperately need to have that ethic of being a man of my word. That is such an integral part of my psyche.
Yeah,
and it helps me. It life gets really simplified when you're telling the truth.
Well, you know, it's funny, but being your friend, I met you when I was in my 20s. I was a shithead, you know.
23, absolute shithead.
Yeah, I was 23, absolute shithead, you know, whatever. But you still decided to be my friend because maybe you saw potential in me. I don't know. At any rate,
it's your swag.
Yeah, I do have that occasionally. But at any rate, the whole thing was that, you know, I did notice that you were a man of integrity. And, you know, integrity, which, you know, it was just something I learned from you, and also English class, but mostly from you. Integrity is what you do when nobody else is looking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's,
and I have a secondary definition to that, sort of as a subset. It's adhering to a decision once the emotional condition in which you made the decision has passed.
Right.
You know, like those people that are like, you know, they're in the hospital because they fucking eat too much, and they're like, oh, when I get out of here, I'm going to work out every day, because they're in a heightened sense of emotion, right? So now the person with integrity is the person that once the emergency is over and they're out of the hospital and they've regained their health, will stick to that decision.
Yes, right. Exactly. And so that's what it comes down to. And
I'm curious, how did I demonstrate that to you?
Oh man, in various ways. First of all, one of the primary ways that you demonstrated that to me is that often I would go on, like I remember an example where I told you that something happened at my bank, right? Again, shedhead guy in my 20s, right? Not knowing much about finances. So I gave you this story about what happened in the bank, and you questioned me, which I wasn't prepared for follow-up questions. So immediately, right? And this is the thing. Like this is how your argument holds no water. Like it's razor thin. When you really don't think about what you're saying or what you believe, a couple of questions breaks your whole thought process down. So that's one of the things that you did to me. And you
by
consistently...
the way, that reminds me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail when it's like, she turned me into a newt. A newt? That was it. One question.
Yeah. I got better. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And so I'm mad because like I'm missing money in my bank account, and and basically it was because I had a lien, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't tell you the lien part. Except you've been around the block a few times enough to know that it just doesn't disappear in the bank. So you wanted to ask questions. Right. And as you start asking questions, my shit just starts to unravel. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, so now I look like a... And so it wasn't the bank's fault. But what happens most of the time is that when you rant about some shit, right? Like you'll say something like, yeah, my money's missing from the bank. And, I'm just giving you a story, like, whatever. And I want to be the hero in that story. And I want you to be like, yeah, word, the bank, man. I ain't banking with no more. You should go get that. And all of a sudden you are fighting a battle that there's no way that you can win because you didn't tell the other person the whole story, except time and time again, you catch me on all that. You were able to detect every single time I was bullshitting. And throughout that process, I decided I gotta stop bullshit. Right?
Interesting.
Because that's the problem. The like you get into this habit of telling lies. And actually what's really funny is that there's a quote that I remember, and it's ironic that the quote came from a notorious gangster, a mob boss. What was his fucking name? The Teflon Don. I forget his name.
Oh, John Gotti.
John Gotti. And one of the things he said, he's like, yeah, no, I don't lie. Lying is for people that are scared. I'm not scared.
Yeah, lying is the province of the cowardly. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, wow, that's pretty fucking interesting. Yeah. It's like, I do lie because I'm scared. And it's a habit that you did when you were a child because you were scared to get caught by your parents. You were scared to get caught by your teachers, your elders, whoever the fuck it was. And so it becomes this habit that you perpetuate. And as I got older, now you start to revise your belief systems, and you start to kind of like take a look at, hey, this isn't working for me. Why do I keep doing this? Right? It's like, there's no reason to lie to anyone, not to my kid, not to my wife, not to my mom, nobody needs to I don't want to go to this place. Why not? I don't feel like it.
Yeah. And sometimes people I don't even answer that question because I answered it when I said I don't want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And but
you bring up something very interesting, and very quickly, here we go again, trajectory.
I'm coming over with snacks. What's happening to you?
Yeah, this might be our last broadcast. I'm clearly dying. Look at that. I almost said drying just then. Yeah. Hell. Anyway.
Chocolate Yoddah needs a snack. Send your funds to the... I will be putting the link in the description.
www.feedthatfat.com.
Yeah, that's it.
So the first time it occurred to me that lying was like childish was when I was 9.
Yeah.
Right? I had this conscious awareness that I was like, lying is for babies. I'm not going to lie anymore. Babies lie. But remember earlier, I told you that I did that until I was 23, and here's why. And it's exactly what you're talking about. I told the truth finally and got in a load of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, that.
Yeah. That is not good. Yeah.
And then so I went 14 more years after that initial awareness. And this coincided with giving up drugs and alcohol and working on myself. Because here's the big secret. In any of the programs where people are exhibiting detrimental thinking, right? Where that detrimental thinking leads to detrimental habits and detrimental outcomes, right? Whether that's taking drugs or gambling or stealing or sex or eating or whatever it is, any behavior that you're exhibiting isn't the issue, right? Like literally in on the first page of the, I haven't read it in a long time, so I don't know if they changed this, but it used to say, drugs are not the problem. Mm-hmm. So if drugs ain't the problem, then I'm the problem.
Right.
Right. And so when I started down that path at age 23 of examining what my issues were and how to overcome them, it was glaringly obvious that one of the first things that had to change was that I had to stop lying and I had to start telling the truth. And I had to be willing to live with the consequences, because that to me is what an adult does. It's like, why? You going to lie? You're a punk. Tell the truth and just deal with it.
Yeah, you know, there's a I feel, for me at least, there's an enormous amount of stress lifted when you don't have to lie.
Absolutely.
You know, there are so many things that I have to, keep memory of. Passwords, for instance. It's insane. I'm in IT, so there's a huge thing with that. And even with password managers, you got to remember. But the point is, there are critical things that you need to keep record of in your mind, and fake stories is just not one of them. I remember, telling a lie in my teens and getting discovered in my mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
That I lied about that. That's, that feels embarrassing. I forgot what the whole situation was, but that was one of those things where it's like, at that point it was like, yeah, I can't keep doing that. That's, like you lied about something and then you get discovered, or it gets discovered later on. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was just one of those things where, like you embellished on a story, and then it was made to be discovered that you weren't being honest about it. Mm-hmm. Not a big deal. I didn't hurt anybody. It was just something that I did to aggravate.
Yeah, but you feel like a bag, right?
But you feel like a total bag, and it's one of those moments in your life where you feel like, oh man, I wish I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Pretending that you know something that you don't, whatever it is. And to me, it's just like, I need to stop feeling that way, especially, as I got older. Because what I realized is that I can be okay with saying I don't know that. And the list of things I don't know is vastly longer than the things I do know. And that holds true for everybody. There's just so many things in this world that you just don't know. I mean,
that's my line, but I'll let you have it.
Yeah, well, it is the persistent rumor after all, my friend. We borrow things here.
You son of a bitch.
So, at any rate, so you basically moved me towards that, by asking me those questions, by being, brutally honest whenever I needed to, just, you need to hunker down a little bit and chill the fuck out. You're acting like a fucking waffle. And, that became sort of the thing that I just did. And I just stopped lying. Even when I went to work and people were like, oh, my last job, it wasn't, if I were late, I was late and nobody was really asking me questions, and that's great. That's fine. But I just made it a habit not to be late. But occasionally I would storm, I would come in like 5 minutes late or whatever. It's like, oh, what was happening? A little traffic, whatever. Oh, I stopped to get a bagel. I was hungry. Whatever the it was. And then I just said what it was. It was never a problem. It was never, ever a problem.
Right.
And
because, and I think it's because people can feel that. Like one of the things that annoyed me about the 23-year-old version of you is the idea that I was going to believe the dumb shit you were telling me.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like so at that age, I had a certain, I guess, barometer for what was acceptable based on what I've experienced, right? You have 13 years of age, above me. So you've had a little bit of time around the block to figure out, to go through all this bullshit as I have now, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm older now than when I met you. Whatever.
I'm the same age.
I don't even know if that. I don't even. Yeah, that sentence was completely.
I'm the portrait of Dorian Gray.
Yeah, I'll fix it in the description or something. Just f*** off right now. Let me just continue with the show.
This new thing of yours of saying you're going to fix it in the description. What the f*** is that about?
I don't know. I don't know. This is just like this is all what I hear all the hipsters say now. I don't do anything in the description. Yeah. I just want to be cool. That's it. Yeah, I'll put the link down in the description. No, I'm not going to read the description unless I want to buy something. Anyway. So that's what it comes down to. I decided that this is not going to be a stress that I have anymore. The last company I worked for, one of their things is just uncompromising honesty. That was one of their mission statements. Like, we want to we want to be a company of uncompromising honesty. And I was like, ooh, okay. And you know what? They stuck by it, man. And that's what it was. Like, the idea was that if you fucked up as an IT guy and you said to the boss, hey, listen, man, I was on my way to, install, swap out a drive on the, to a new server or something like that, right? But the new drive dropped, as I was ready to put it in, and it got fucked up. So now they still have that bad drive. We got to swap this out, and it's going to take a couple more days. So now the customer's going to be a little angry, upset, or whatever, but it happens. And the idea was that that's what I said. What happened was what I said, and that's what we told the customer.
Right.
We apologized, we fixed it, and you know what? That goes a long way. Absolutely. Because ultimately the client understands that it happens, we got a backup plan in case, we're going to fix this. It's not going to cost you anything additional. And, as soon as we got this replaced drive, we would be right back to swap it out for you. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate the honesty. And here's the best part of it. Now, every time that somebody asks, hey, what happened with that drive? How come it didn't get replaced? Nobody has to think of a story.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like, it's it's just look at the notes. This is what happened. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody said anything different. My boss didn't tell him anything different. And that's just what it is. Because so many times I've worked in a company where we tell one customer one thing and then somebody else tells them the right thing.
Bad move.
And then you just look terrible. You look untrustworthy.
Absolutely.
And that's just the way to be, man.
And that's the irony of it, too, is that people wind up looking shady because they lied to avoid looking shady.
Exactly.
I actually got a referral once because I refused to sign up a customer. It was a lawyer, and we were at a networking event for the Bar Association. And I used to belong to their monthly luncheon. Great group of people. And this guy came up to me and said, should I take credit cards? And I said, all right, let me ask you a few questions. Went through my usual screening process to figure out if it was a good fit for him. And it turns out that for some lawyers, it's a great fit. For other lawyers, it's absolutely not a good fit. Now, in his case, it was going to be a good fit eventually. This was my professional opinion, is that he didn't have the customer base and the volume to make it worth his while at that time. And so that's what I told him straight out. And he grabs another lawyer that he saw. He says, "You got to talk to this guy. He just refused to take me on as a customer. He's so honest. This is the guy you need to talk to." Because that's unusual. People are so hungry for customers that they turn themselves into and lie to people and try to force something to fit that doesn't fit.
Absolutely. And that's really what it's like. You know, in my experience with IT, and I've worked in everything from homes to large businesses, whatever. I've worked on fucking ships, like cargo ships that had viruses. Like, I've worked in a lot of different things. And the one thing that I can say that a lot of people, it's almost like we're car mechanics, where you always think your car mechanic's a little shady, where he's telling you that, you know, oh, this isn't, this isn't really broken, but I'm gonna just tell you that so I can charge you. And IT people get approached like that, especially if we're on a, like, you know, you pay me by the hour kind of thing, where we make house calls or we go to your business and we're on a, like, you know, pay. And so people just assume, and I think that's just gonna be an association made with any service that you're charged by, that you bill by the hour. And that's fine. That's inherent in what we do. And so what I like to do, and one of the things about working in IT is that, you know, if you go to any school, ethics is one of those things that gets taught. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to, grab that and, you know, roll with it, as I should say.
So you mean that ethics committee in Washington, D.C. isn't all that it's cracked up to be?
Indeed. Yeah, it's not at all. But here's the thing, right? Like, I have, you are given some power, right? In some cases, I have as much access as the CEO does of a company, as the owner of a company, right? And you have to be honest with that, right? You have to safeguard that, because here's the thing, right? Like, yeah, maybe you can, let's say that I can get away with, like, and by getting away means that I actually created some sort of transaction where I took some data, sold it, whatever the case is, and I get away with that. Well, now my reputation is tarnished in IT if I get caught. And that's my career down the toilet, right? I can't afford that for one payoff. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Right? More important.
Yeah, I walked away from a very lucrative deal because it was a slumlord who was trying to get me to sign him. And I did some research and found out that he had been sued several times, and there was a fucking Fox 5 news story on this guy in Atlanta. And so I just told the banker that referred the deal, I said, yeah, this guy's too shady, man. It would be the biggest deal that I had ever signed, but I'm not going to do it.
You know, and
guess what? That banker trusted me.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's like, at the end of the day, I want to sleep well, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to have any, like, oh man, I did somebody dirty, whatever. Like, I've never left a job, or maybe I did, I don't know. But I've never, in my recorded history, I've never left a job and gave my 2 weeks notice and did some f***ed up shit, right? I've never left a job.
I think you'd remember that if you did.
I mean, you know, like I said, I was a head when I was younger, so maybe I did. I don't think I've ever done anything like malicious or anything like that. Like, maybe, you know, I slacked off for the last 2 weeks or something like that.
So, so no jerking off in the mayo?
No, that would be
that's only at home.
Yeah, you can pick up the DNA on that, bro. I ain't with that. So at any rate, you like that. But for me, everything is about, you know, not just my career, but coming home and raising a daughter to be honest, to be a good person. Like, you can't be an untrustworthy person and raise a trustworthy person. I don't see how that goes.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and so everything is habitual. Everything is practice. Like, just being a man of integrity.
And your children are going to do what they see you do. It doesn't matter what the you say.
Exactly. And that's
like, what scared me straight. That's actually why I changed my life when I was 23 years old. I'm looking at my son who's 2, and I'm going, holy this guy is going to follow me as a pattern. Like he's going to use me as a template for life, and I'm a up. So let me get my together,
And that's essentially, I mean, I started my path before my daughter, but thankfully it was just,
oh, you're so fancy. You, man. Oh,
but I started way later than you. So either way,
I'm better. Okay. I feel good now.
There you go. Get a chocolate bar, Chocolate Yoddah.
You watch your filthy mouth.
Yeah, man. But hey, I got a good story time. Let me tell you a cool story. So
okay,
let me tell you a cool story about this. Right. So I'm back in the dating realm, right? And I had a conversation.
Okay, I know. What
I
you're
had a conversation with my wife, right? So things are good. I'm like, it's like it's been 6 months we've been separated. Things are great between us, and like as far as.
By the way, I just love how this story started out. I want to tell you about my dating life. I had a conversation with my wife. That's priceless.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it was just like, yeah, that's fine. She's not going to date, but I'm just like, hey, I just need some, that's what I need. So we can talk more on that later. But I decide, okay, cool. The 27th, I open up, I go into a dating app, and I'm like, all right, let me give this a whirl, see what's happening. I scrolled through a few pictures. I messaged two.
And let's just be clear. You messaged 2 women.
2 women, yes. 2 of the female species. And I messaged 2 adult women. And I go to visit my daughter the next day. Within 15 minutes of me arriving there, my wife asked me, what dating app did you sign up for? And I tell her, and she's like, my friend Yada Yada said that you messaged her and all this. I was like, is it this girl? I'm like, of course. Like, like I messaged 2.
Yeah.
And
2 women.
2 women, and one of them fucking knows you. How I'm glad that I talked to you about it. You know what I mean? 'Cause I wasn't You know what I mean? It's like this would have been but this is part of the integrity.
Let's pause there for a second. Yes, I'm about to bring it back full circle because here's the advice that I give men all the time: have the conversation.
Yes.
Don't be stop cheating. And I'm not saying don't other women if you're married. That's up to you. What I'm saying is tell your wife about it. Be honest. Like I had the conversation once. I wound up not doing it because I wound up getting divorced instead, but I had the conversation.
Yes.
I mean, I was willing to say, okay, this is what I want. I want to have a sex life. I understand if you're not willing to do that, but I'm not old enough to give up sex, so I want to fuck other women.
Right.
And when I tell guys that I had that conversation, some of them pass out from the vapors.
Yeah. It's like that Key and
Are
Peele
you
episode
farting, or is that a car near you?
That's probably me farting. I don't know.
Kudos.
Yeah, I am actively farting right now.
There's always a fart going on. It's just louder sometimes.
Yeah, it's like the ebb and flow of the Atlantic Ocean.
Picture that. Imagine if you just 24/7 had a steady fart coming out of you.
like Tourette's, but out of your
just like
yeah.
And once in a while it would do.
Yeah. It would just. How crazy is that?
Oh, that's absurd.
You know how You know how like that guy, well, there's probably more than one guy, but there was a guy that like he would constantly have orgasms, and like he would walk and he would just like drop to his knee because he would just for no reason just orgasm, and I'm like, what a fucking horrible existence that would be.
Yeah.
At first, I wasn't like that. At first, I thought, wow, that would be amazing.
Because at a certain point, it can't be pleasurable.
Yeah, no, after like, especially when nothing's happening, like you're just in the middle of a fucking meeting and shit. Like, yeah, okay, Dan. And so last quarter's figures were, who the fuck needs that? Like, you can't get anything done. Who's going to have a Zoom meeting with that guy? You know what I mean? You're unemployable.
Oh. What a perfect tag. I love that. Who's going to have a Zoom meeting with that guy? Oh, and by the way, thank you for depicting your O face.
It's about integrity, my friend.
Oh, man. But yeah, like, look, men usually take the route of hiding their true desires. They won't tell their wife what they want to do sexually, because here's what they do. They send out scouts, right? Mm-hmm. Like if a guy wants to know if he can chicken eat, he'll start off with like putting a finger like around the
yes,
and just gradually see like, all right, is this encroachment okay? Is this encroachment, and then you go knuckle deep and you're like, all right, she's okay with a finger. And it's because it's this timidity because, men have learned very often the consequence of expressing their true thoughts.
Sure.
Pardon me. But yeah, and so it's this very soft, gentle process of introducing the real you to a person. And I think it's not just about sex, but I think it shows itself most clearly in the realm of sex. So let's say a guy wants a, right? So by the time he's going to reveal that, because if a dude wants a, that's probably what he's all about.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's his main thing. Yeah. So if he sent out scouts and got like skittish kind of, negative responses, he's never going to bring up the, right?
Right. Right.
And what he's going to do instead is he's going to either find a girlfriend on the side or pay a prostitute that will satisfy that need for him. And he's going to have to lead a double life in order to do that. And that's a lot of stress, as I can imagine.
Absolutely.
I only had like 2 girlfriends at a time when I was a teenager, but even that was kind of stressful. And there were no high stakes going on. I wasn't married or whatever, or in serious relationships, but even that was kind of stressful, juggling more than one woman.
I'm going to admit something that I've never admitted to a soul. And I'm going to do this right here. I suck at cheating. I've cheated maybe about 5 times in my life. Got caught every single time. Just has. And the reason for it is because I'm not good at lying. I like to pretend that I am, right? like a quick little lie here and there is like, yeah, whatever. Anybody's going to believe that if there's nothing, you know what I mean? But when it's like a serious thing, like when you're cheating and all that, it's just like, I don't have the headspace for all that. You know how much planning there is around, trying to like sneak out of your girlfriend's life in an unusual way. Like when you're used to doing something in a certain way, and then you get a piece of ass on the side, you just start doing stupid. Nobody needs to do that. And so,
honey, I'm a volunteer firefighter, and it's at an undisclosed location.
Yeah. It says House for Habitat here. I'm going to be here for a while. We're building a house. I know I don't know how to do shit with tools, but I'll figure it out. Bye.
Jimmy Carter's my hero. You shut up.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, that's something that I needed to stop, but what I decided to do instead is just that be honest about what my desires. Have the conversation. And you know what? It's gone pretty well. Listen, there's not going to be a woman that wants to do everything. It's just not going to happen. Maybe you'll find it. There's unicorns out there, I guess. I don't know. But if it's a deal breaker for you, right? Then just be honest, right? Yeah. One of the conversations that I've had with women is that I have a certain desire, a certain a certain outlook on how love works, right? A lot of people get jealous about love, and like if you're looking at someone else, like they get jealous about that, whatever. And to me, I make it perfectly clear is that I can be in a relationship with you, I can love you with all my heart. That does not mean that I will never look at another woman, and I don't ever want you to think that that's going to be a situation for you. I won't disrespect you if you want to be in a monogamous relationship, and I decide that that's what I want to do is be in a monogamous relationship. I won't disrespect you. But I don't want you thinking that if a set of comes on my phone, I ain't going to look at it. Because that's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
And that's a good thing, because I do send you a lot of sets of...
Yeah, it's great. And so, and sometimes your own. So, it's cool in either way. and either way, I don't want to hear about it. It's just the way it works.
Oh, how upsetting would that be?
Yeah. It's like, it's Chocolate Yoddah. I'm talking to Chocolate Yoddah. Like, what, but that's the point. It's just like, what the f are you getting on my case about? Like, it's like, I never understood this idea that there's some sort of limit with love. Right? Like, if I love a woman, right? Like, I can't love you if I love someone else. How is that a fucking thing? When did that?
When you love so many people in your life anyway. You love so many things. You love so many people. Some people like, oh, I love steak. I love my children. I love steak. Well, okay. It's all love, right? And
it's all love.
You love your friends, you love your family members. Why? Like, nobody says you can't love more than 10 of your friends,
right?
That's weird,
And sure, I think there's varying degrees.
Yeah, but I think there has to be an understanding on the side of women that chances are, because of our DNA, that no one woman is going to be enough for a man. And that's not just sexually, like your wife or significant other, because forget about marriage, but your significant other might not like to bowl. And you like to bowl, and this woman that likes to bowl. You might want to this chick. I mean, odds are that you want to this chick who likes to bowl, but you're not gonna. Mm-hmm. But you want to go bowling with her. Yeah. And the problem is that women get jealous of that.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not fucking this chick.
Yeah.
I can't hang out with her and bowl. You don't want to bowl. She wants to bowl. I'm fucking you. I'm living with you or in a relationship with you or whatever the fuck it is. I want to bowl with her. What the fuck is the problem?
I want to do a Birmingham booty call. You ain't down. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I bought this small phone.
That's slightly different than bowling, but yes, same thing.
But still, it's the point. You know what I mean? It's like, let me fucking live and have fun.
Yeah.
What is the problem?
And there's got to be honesty on both sides of the equation about that. Women have to be more open to that idea, and men have to be honest about that idea, because I hate to see a man turn into a beggar, and I hate to see a man turn into a thief. The men that lie, or you know, whatever, they're covering up the fact that they're having another relationship with someone because all they want is just happiness. That's all this is about. This dude wants to be happy in his life. He is committed to you. He has demonstrated that for years in all aspects of life. If you're living together, he's paying at least some of the bills, if not all. You know, he treats you right. You feel the way you want to feel. You love him. You feel loved. All these things, right? And there's this one thing that you're not willing to do that he still wants. So instead of, well, let's be honest about what I want, and then let's be mature enough to at least have the conversation about it. Because here's the thing. Even if you, as a woman, tell the guy, you know what, no, I can't deal with that. That's better than saying we're not going to talk about that. Shutting down the conversation is a very damaging thing. That will virtually guarantee that A, he's never going to be honest with you again, and B, he is going to find a way to satisfy that need. Right. So, you know, decide which way you want your relationship to go.
Listen, in my case, I know that just the fact that I was able to end that I had a wife who was entertaining that discussion, not just like, let me hear you out, but like giving you feedback, going back and forth, and really like, you know, that alone just made me feel like, man, you know what? That's not going to go down, but I'm all right with that because she heard me. She knows how I feel, and she countered that. And I thought, man, you know what? It really isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. And ultimately, doesn't that bring you closer with that person?
It does, because
you know, that level of intimacy, that level of honesty, that level of communication, it all strengthens your relationship. So, you know, men and women both chip away at the relationships, at their relationships all the time. It's like what Dave Matthews said in the song Ants Marching. We look at each other wondering what the other is thinking, but we never say a thing, and these crimes between us grow deeper. Boom. That tells you everything that you want to know. I'm telling you, I find a lot of philosophy in song lyrics, man, because, you know, artists are reflecting life back to us. That's what they do. Here's how I see life. I'm going to either write a book about it or write a song about it or make a film about it, whatever it is, or I'm going to do a painting. I'm going to reflect back life to you. And if you're paying attention, you can get some really good stuff out of, you know, sort of innocuous sources. But that'll be where we wrap it up. Another unpredictable and interesting conversation. This has been The Persistent Rumor. You can find us at thepersistentrumor.com. You can check out our merch on the merch tab. You can tab. See, I'm still f***ing up. Tab, motherfucker, tab. You can check us out on YouTube at The Persistent Rumor, Facebook at The Persistent Rumor, Patreon at The Persistent Rumor. It's exhausting. Everything at The Persistent Rumor. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Chancleta. I love you.
Tune in next show where we will discuss snot bubbles. Why?
Peace, love, and granola, everybody.
Later, guys.